Welcome back to Project 94 for another Diecast review here on the channel. And today we're going to be taking a look at another 2023 Cup car. And today it's going to be Kevin Harvick and his 2023 Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang for Stewart Racing. Of course, this is going to be that streak of videos of Harvick's final Cup diecasts. Of course, 2023 being his final NASCAR Cup Series season as a full-time driver and probably as a driver altogether. So definitely be tuning in for these Kevin Harvick diecast reviews because you're probably wondering what these diecasts are like to have. And this one right here is the Hunt Brothers Pizza paint scheme, the new one. Yes, they actually made some changes to this design, and we're going to be looking at all of those changes today. It's a pretty cool looking Hunt Brothers Pizza car. Hunt Brothers Pizza has been pretty cool with their paint schemes. They make some pretty decent designs. They look great. I mean, the green, you can't go wrong with the Italian colors, the red, white, and green. Very, very cool color scheme. Of course, on the box, you're going to notice it for you Kevin Harvick fans. Forever a champion. Pretty cool logo to have on the boxes, especially for Harvick's final season in the Cup Series. Of course, the diecasts are going to have that as well. And the diecasts themselves do have it, because look, they actually have it on the A-pillar of the car. So pretty nice to see it. Right next to the roof rail, which we'll be taking a look at all those details in a second here. So let's get this diecast out of the box and ready to review. Move that Justin Allgaier car there for a second. Here it is out of the box. The Hunt Brothers Pizza Kevin Harvick diecast for 2023. So let's get a closer look at it. Right off the bat, the green on this car is pretty cool. Of course, all the Hunt Brothers pizzas have a pretty cool looking green backdrop to it. Base coat. And I gotta say, this is pretty sharp. This is looking really sharp so far. I haven't really started the review yet, but just first impressions of it. The paint scheme is pretty nice. I do like this Hunt Brothers new paint scheme. Last year, they had a white hood and a slightly different side design, but they decided to come up with something new for 2023 for Harvick's final season. And of course, this is the car that ran Atlanta next to that number 29 car, so pretty interesting time for me to be reviewing this car. Quite good, actually. Good time for me to be reviewing this car. So let's get this diecast review on. You got number 4, you got Ford, Mustang, of course you have Stewart Racing. I actually wish when they used to put the word Mustang under the grill, they used to have it in the middle right here, and they stopped doing that. Which is sad. I miss seeing the Mustang logo there. Of course, you have the Ford logo. Then, of course, you have the Hunt Brothers Pizza with the hood vents going through it. You have Ford, Harvick, and man, just those hood vents really get in the way of these hood logos. That's something we're going to have to get used to with these NASCAR diecasts, because all of them are going to have it for 2023. It just, man, look what it does. Look what the hood vents do to the BR and the RS in Hunt Brothers. And a little bit of the P and the A for pizza. That's a little bit weird. I'm really not a fan of these things, these hood vents. How they look on these diecasts. I'm still getting used to them. Eventually I'll get used to these things. But man, just seeing it right on top of the Hunt Brothers logo was just... Oh man, can you imagine if they would have molded those out? How much of a hard time they would have had with these decals? So I'm really glad they chose to do decals for the hood vents, because then they can change it for whenever they want to. First, you got Ford and Harvick. You have Sunoco right there. You got a boatload of chips underneath the little side front marker right there, the splitter. You have Goodyear NASCAR Cup Series, the NASCAR 75th logo. You got number 4. You have Forever, a champion. Or just Forever on the car. Got Kevin Harvick. You have Hunt Brothers Pizza. You have Ford, Mobile One, Haas, Hunt Brothers Pizza again. And then Rush Truck Centers. Then you have Gear Wrench, Hunt Brothers again on the rear quarter this time. Then you have Pristine Auction and Sunny D. The Sunny D is going to be an actual new paint scheme. Stay tuned for that. And I just noticed this logo on the back. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus in on it. 14 years for Pizza Racing. Let me see if I can zoom in on that so I can give you guys a more accurate reading of what that says on there. Come on, focus. There you go. 14 years for Pizza Racing. You have Hunt Brothers, GT Hunt Brothers. So weird that they put GTs, because aren't these Mustangs supposed to be that Cobra style Mustang? Shelby Mustang, and they're still putting GT on there? I don't know, man. Then you have, of course, the Ford license plate with the 2023 registration sticker on the license plate. Got Mobile 1, you got number 4. Of course, you got the Hunt Brothers Pizza, which is crooked and has a weird, like, dang, that is weird. Look at these texture flaws on these cars. So not only is the Hunt Brothers logo not even centered, that is not centered properly. And on top of that, you got that weird, like, texture thing on there. These cars are coming with these weird residues. This is not the first time this has happened. The Justin Allgaier car had some, so, yeah, that's not great. You have Kevin Harvick in number 4 with the black roof rails. And, of course, the number 4 itself, you got a black outline, a red outline, very thin, and, of course, the white number fill-in. And something weird about the outline on, like, the door numbers. Take a look at the 4 on the top here, and then look at the 4 on the side. Yes, it's the same style number 4 with the same colors, but look at, like, it has, like, another weird outline to it. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. I really hope that's accurate, because if that's not accurate, that's not great. I mean, look, you see how it has, like, a weird outline to it? It's like they were cutting out, like, the decal, and they just left, like, that weird shadow effect. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It actually kind of looks cool. But, like, if that's not accurate, that shouldn't be there. But you guys let me know. Is that accurate? I know I've seen this car a million times already. We just saw it at Atlanta. But my mind is just not processing if the actual car had that or not. So, you guys let me know if I'm right or wrong. I'm probably eventually going to find out when I watch highlights of the race later. So, yeah, the car itself is spray painted that Hunt Brothers Pizza, that classic dark green that they're known for. Then you have the black side skirts, which is pretty much on all of these cars, the next-gen 164s. So only certain teams are painting their side markers. I wish more people would do that. Look at the side markers of these things, or paint them. Look at painting these things, because just all having them black like that, it's almost too standard, honestly. But you got a black splitter in the front, of course a black spoiler in the back. It wouldn't have hurted to paint that green, but oh well, they decided to just do black all the time. So in the front, you're going to start off with the corners of the front nose right here. You're going to start out with these shapes that wrap around the front. They wrap pretty neatly around the OEM details. The light green outline with the bit of a dark green inside, some gradients in there, so it starts out pretty dark at the top and fades into like the normal green, but it's still a very different green from what's on the car, the background paint and all that. So it wraps pretty nicely around like the fog light area, so that's cool to see that. Of course, the front corners are going to have some of that shape as well. It's very angular. It's definitely not round by any stretch of the imagination. But it definitely has more gradients on there, so that's pretty cool. Pretty neat looking front end right there of the design. Then on the side, you have the very jagged edges to it. It almost looks like a Fast and Furious paint scheme where they just... If they're going to design cars with stripes, they usually go for these really, like, crazy looking, spiky, angular stripes. I mean, that's basically what this looks like to me as the audio device fell over just now. But look at that. So you have like these 3 skewed squares. They're really, really slanted. Of course, that's how the paint scheme actually looks. You got like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 4th one behind the Hunt Brothers Pizza logo. Then, of course, you got some more of the jagged spikes shooting down the side of the car, spiking through the number 4, through the top of the Hunt Brothers Pizza, and at the ends at the 75th anniversary logo. And, of course, you're going to have a spike that spikes towards the rear, the hips of the car, of course. Of course, one of those squares has a bit of a shape to it as well. You can see the triangular mark right there. Pretty cool. Of course, that very thin stripe is going to spike through the bioethanol logo. Of course, the hips are neatly wrapped, as you can tell. I mean, honestly, when you look at it, I feel like this side is a bit slit up. Because if you look at this side, like, look at how there's no, like, stripe like around the hip right there, but you can see the stripes on this side. So kind of weird. Maybe the decal is a bit slid up on this side. I really have to check that, but as far as that goes, that looks a little bit funky. But what's cool about the stripes on the side, of course, see the uppermost stripe that spikes through the top of those two logos right there? It spikes next to the rear quarter window. Just a bit of space right there, and it spikes through there and stops at this pillar right here. Pretty cool to see that. I love how that looks. Makes it look pretty nasty. One thing I will say, the decals look pretty skewed. Because, look, see how that that stripe doesn't line up with this stripe? They really should meet at the same end or the same point. I'm looking at this, and these things don't meet up at the same place. So, that's probably I really don't think that's actually how the car looks. I think that's actually an error. And it's quite bizarre error. I mean, you can't even line up the stripes. Ah, well. But, you know, you kind of get how it's supposed to look, right? You kind of get an idea, right? They're supposed to spike at, like, the same point of the back window. Just doesn't quite do it there. But here's the back, just all plain dark green. But I love also, as well, it's not just striping. They have the gradients within each of the shapes on the car. Because when you look at it, like, from this side, you could definitely tell there's some gradients going on around the rear area, around the hips of the car. A little bit on each of those skewed squares. And it's going to be the same way on both sides, of course. So you're going to get that nice blend. You're going to have some of that dark green with the shadow gradients throughout the door design. And then, of course, the normal green color that it was meant to be painted in. So that's pretty cool. You can definitely tell the difference between the greens on this car. The light greens are used for the really thin stripes. Pretty cool to see that. Of course, the back is just a plain dark green. The front has those cool stripes as well. I mean, I really like how whenever these paint schemes designers are designing this stuff, they keep the OEM details in mind. They just neatly wrap around those things. It's really cool to see that. Love that a lot. Pretty cool diecast here for Kevin Harvick. I'm really glad they got rid of that white hood. Honestly, when they just decided to say, "Hey, man, we're gonna get rid of the white. We're just gonna put the Hunt Brothers logo on top of the green backdrop." It did help this car. Looking at it with the white hood and then the rest of it green, it's a bit tacky. So I'm really glad they took care of it. They fixed that issue. So I'm gonna do a 360 view of this car. Pretty nice one. If you already have last year's Hunt Brothers car, it's really up to you whether or not you want to update it. But the paint scheme is new, so keep that in mind. You got the dark gray rims as well, which these 2023 cars still are not rolling too great. This one's a bit better than most of the other ones. Of course, you got the white Goodyear logo right there. You guys can tell with the 360 view. This is one of those cars where I might do those close-ups. I mean, look at that. Look how sharp and aggressive the stripes are. I feel like on the real-life car, it's harder to notice that the stripes are even there. Like, if the camera is further enough away from the car, you can barely notice them. Like, you really have to get close to this thing to see that the stripes are there. But on the diecast, I mean, on camera, you don't have a problem noticing it. But when I look at this thing from far, like, if I really, really back up from this thing, I know the camera, I can't really back it up. But, like, in real life, if you're looking at this car and you really, really back away from it with no lighting, it really doesn't even look like there's a design there. It literally looks like grass trimmings, almost. But there's the underbody of the car, 2023 Mustang under license. So that has been the review of Kevin Harvick's 2023 Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang for Stewart Racing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this diecast review. Comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video on the channel. And always remember to make sure you know what you're doing when you're putting decals on your diecasts.